Everyone, Zach. Today is July 11th, 2025. I'm not really sure who I'm addressing this to, if I'm addressing this to people on my health vlog to provide an update, or to also send this out in the ether in general, because I've had a synchronicity today. Basically, about 5 months ago-ish, not quite, but roughly, I had a synchronicity happen. Sorry, my few lights are gonna look a little weird. I experienced a synchronicity, right? And basically, I was just like at my lowest point, right? And I just prayed to God so deeply that something was going to happen. I was going to have a break out of like circumstances. And it happened, right? It happened. So anyways, sorry, this is, been a while since I've done a video. And here again today, I've had kind of a synchronicity. Years ago, I didn't watch anything tarot, law of manifestation related stuff, but I have been unwittingly practicing the law of manifestation as far back as 20 years, like at least from the sense of, I had cancer, if I read too much into worrying about dying, it'll become a self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing. But, since then I know about matching vibrational states and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's uncanny how much a couple of these videos really match up with what I'm going through right now, and I'll probably want to at least link them or share them, to offer a little bit of a context, of what I've been dealing with, and some of it is just coming out of, or at least I think I'm coming out of this really extremely long process, of being ill for the past 10 years in one form or another, to 20 years ago when I had my cancer and being ill there, to just a bunch of bad stuff happening, to some better times and to some not so better times, and struggling through it. So, anyways, suffice to say, I haven't really provided any updates recently because I've just been navigating this, right? I don't really know what to update on, and stupid government has denied my disability, which is dumb because when I say that, I mean retroactively to me starting back work. I understand going forward that I probably wouldn't, because I'm back at work, even though I do have MS, and that could become an issue with time potentially. But so my lawyers are still fighting that stuff. So I've in part I've felt kind of afraid to update for partially that reason. Also just things being in flux, and just trying to figure out like the silver lining of what I can share with you that's positive and that's real and that's good. And so I would just say that I'm grateful for where I'm at right now. I appreciate all the help I've been given to get to where I am today. I'm kind of digging myself out of a financial hole brought about by being disabled for a couple of years. So because when you're on disability, you only get 60% of your pre-disability earnings and all that, and the costs have increased significantly from where they were 7 years ago or whatever. That being said, I'm grateful for the position I have now. There is a lot of misalignment, and I'm not exactly sure why. I would just say maybe in the energy because I'm just bringing myself as is, and at first it was really embraced and loved and accepted, and with time it's felt like it's become less and less embraced and accepted, but not just being myself, but also just, if I can just say it, real. I didn't know this, but apparently there's this term. I just stumbled upon it on social media, looking at some, clips or shorts, whatever. And I guess it's called gain stalking. Some aspects of what are said are not lies, are legit, but there's also some things that are spreading the truth or just straight up lies, as I would say. And since I've worked in research for as long as I have, it's very concerning to me, right? My previous department, I had no issues whatsoever. While I understand maybe this is a new department and there's growth and all that, I'm not really sure what's going on. But anyways, let me talk about some positive things now. So yeah, as far as the synchronicity stuff, there's a channel, he's pretty good. Let me pull it up here. I think it's Dove and Tarot on YouTube, and there's another one. Let's see. Dove and Serpent Tarot, yeah, for today, for my sign, which is an air sign, very specific to my situation. Like, very strangely accurate. And then there's another creator that her name's Freya Ray. She's on YouTube as well, and she's very good. And you can say what you want to say about it being quasi, not scientific or whatever, but I think that's kind of the biggest problem we have in our current state of reality, is that there's this dichotomous thinking, right? Like, one's right, one's incorrect, right? And what I've just kind of realized from watching these two videos is that the expectations I place on myself, to succeed at all costs in whatnot, ends up being kind of its own form of self-punishment, is what I'm basically just trying to say. Because it doesn't respect me for the full human being that I am. And, while there are logical components to stress and dealing with things, there's also emotional ones, right? And so it kind of goes back to 2017 when I was dealing with these chronic health issues, not realizing yet I had been diagnosed with MS. I was diagnosed with MS at the end of last year, but not understanding the symptoms, really thinking that I was dying and whatnot, and having that go on for a couple of years by the time I got to 2017, and just forcing myself to continue working, 2 part-time jobs, a full-time and a limited part-time, and just, and on top of that, if it wasn't for my mom's support, I wouldn't have been able to seek out medical help. She really took care of paying for the Obamacare and things like that, which I'm very, very grateful for. But all said and done, as I came to this conclusion, because I used to not spend any time on social media at all. I would just sit here in this room, and when I wasn't feeling well, I would just be kind of like paralyzed, and I would just like look up at the ceiling. And I know it sounds kind of awful, but there is healing, in remaining with the pain of things. And the conclusion I came to after dealing with this for a couple of years, my mind racing from thing to thing, I'm sure it has caused some PTSD in me for sure, was the fact that, one, I may not have control over what happens to me, but I do have control over the way I react to it, right? And number 2, worrying about it's not going to change the circumstances. As an extension to that, what do I mean? I mean, like, literally, if you find out new news about something new, not ongoing, you do need to since we are given free will, we have to react to certain information, right? To make decisions and to get things ready in certain situations. Now, if the information or the circumstances haven't changed or they haven't come to fruition, then if you go, weeks or months or even years down the road with that kind of thinking, then you just get caught up in a vicious cycle, right? So how do you free yourself from that? Well, you have to understand we are all energy, and the energy that we put out is kind of reflected back at us, right? It's what they talk about, vibrational states. So when it comes to manifesting, you have to let go of expectation. You have to understand that it doesn't happen on your time. It happens on the cosmic timeline, God, higher power, cosmos, whatever you want to call that, and that there is goodness in this world, believe it or not. And, the more we tend to chase things, the more things tend to run away from us. So you have to believe in your mind's eye, what's coming into your future in order to actually manifest it. Before I was in this position I'm in now, when I was like in the real early phases of looking at work, end of 2023, which was premature, but I just was like, I don't know, how much longer private insurance is going to allow me to be on, and I didn't know what to do. There was a research position within the same department I work right now, and I had this dream, this spiritual dream, about being there, about walking up there, about being invited in, and while I didn't get that position, come over a year later, I ended up exactly in that same place, to give you an idea, okay? And basically, I've been asking God, higher power, source, please offer me some clarity, please offer me some peace, because it's not clear exactly what the next move is here, work should be going well. Unfortunately, I feel like it's not been. And while some of that might be a little bit of growing pains, I also think some of it's just been kind of unfair stuff, as I already kind of hinted at. I'm cautious about even posting this, but the bottom line is, all I'm basically just trying to say is that I need to believe that I'm taken care of and everything's going to be okay, because God has been in my life, throughout my life, and it's always provided. It's always been like last, bleeding minute, second, and that's what makes it confusing between free will, because I take things so far with being as frugal as possible and doing all these different kinds of things, to try to make it work, and then like it's as soon as like I'm like bar none, nothing, I can't go no more, then finally something happens, So with this position, I was originally not given it, and then came back around and was given it. And it feels like it's another pattern here, because, I helped set up this lab, and only good things to say, and now like a lot of bad things to say about me as a researcher, which I don't agree. Stories that are being told to my boss, not necessarily, 100% legit. But I'm also the kind of person that's honest and takes responsibility where responsibility is due, even if it's something that I don't agree with 100%, I don't play games, but there are a lot of people out there that do, competing in this world, and it's just kind of a wake-up call for me. So anyways, I guess that's it. I hope every one of you as well. I'm hanging in there. I'm hurting pretty bad today. I'm pretty tired. I'm here at home, getting ready to work on a presentation for next week, and I'm just saying prayers about everything working out well. As far as longevity, it's hard to say, but at the current rate, probably like 5 or 6 months at most of work left, because we lost one of our grants, and it's scary, and I'm still technically in debt. I'm digging myself out, but yeah, it's just been a long, arduous process to get here. So anyways, if anyone else is going through a lot in their life, just understand, I understand before all this, I lost a leg, diagnosed with MS, dealt with health issues for 10 years. Prior to that, had a lot of providers not help me out at all, had, a couple of good ones that were really compassionate and treated my symptoms, mostly energy and pain issues. So for any of you that are going through any of that stuff, or health issues, or your own stuff, or just even where the world seems just so unforgiving right now, just understand, while it's okay to want to control things, as humans, we don't have control as much as we like to pretend that we do. We have some level of control for sure, but sometimes we forget what is our control, under our control, what we're responsible for, and what we're not ultimately responsible for. You know, I think that's where the serenity prayer kind of comes in. You know, God, give me the wisdom to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, with that, I send love, peace and love to you all. See ya.